Sarah Lamont, the Canine Family Planner. This is one of my usual weekend, what do I call them? Sarah's weekend weekly summaries. So it's just a short Facebook Live to talk through some of my clients' events and experiences in regards to dog breeding. It's also an opportunity for you to ask any questions if you have any, and we'll take it from there really. So let's start with successes. So this week I've scanned in pup a toy poodle with 4, a miniature schnauzer with 4, and I believe the miniature schnauzer was put to a fairly elderly stud dog, so they were really pleased that bitch caught. A French bulldog with 7, a pug, and I can't remember how many, I think it might have been 4 or 5. A cocker spaniel with 7. That wasn't a intentional breeding. She thought the bitch was no longer fertile, and she's still caught basically with 7. And I've scanned a mini Daxi with 5, which I'm going to talk about in a bit more detail, and a American bulldog with 11, which I'm going to talk about in some more detail. So hi, thanks for joining everybody. As I say, if you've got any questions, then fire them up as we go. Likes, hearts, let me know that you're there. Obviously share this with any of your breeder friends, just so they can get into the groove of what I do on a weekend, how I spend my weekends with you. I had some interesting AIs. So I had a pug AI who, interestingly, when I first come into contact with them, I did an AI and the bitch caught. And then second time round, the owner decided to do bloods. We did bloods and an AI, and she didn't catch. So what we've decided is, again, this time we'll just do an AI. I don't know whether her having the blood draws stressed her out and impacted her fertility or not. We're not sure. So I recommended, I was like, let's not do the bloods. We know she caught before on particular days. Let's do that approach again. And we don't know whether it's worked yet, but we've done it, so we'll soon find out. Also did an AI for a French bulldog that had a split season. So I was running her bloods and she just didn't go high at all. And I said to the owners, I think this is probably going to be a split season. So we stopped testing, she dried up. And then literally, it must be no more than 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, she's come back into season again. We've run bloods. This time she's ovulated, so she has been AI'd. Basically, both the owners are away. Mr. and Mrs. are away on separate trips. So they had the mummy-in-law looking after the dogs. So obviously she didn't know much about dogs apart from looking after their little tribe. So I was called in just to do an AI on those. Also today I did a AI for a Rottweiler, maiden dog. Bitch has had a litter before, but basically he's not that interested, even though all the other dogs are going mad over her, and he has known to hump dogs and mount dogs, but he probably sees it more as a playing sort of activity rather than a sexual one. So he was easy enough to collect from. There wasn't anything, you know, problematic with him. It's just that he hasn't put the two pieces together in regards to what he needs to do. So I did a quick AI this afternoon with a Rottweiler as well. So I'll let you know the outcomes of those as and when I know them. In regards to misses, so I've had a French Bulldog miss that was an accidental mating, so they weren't too fussed about that. A French Bulldog that I did a chilled AI with. The sample, when I received it my end, wasn't particularly great, but the sire had sired litters that way. So it's always worth bearing in mind, if you're going to use a dog that you're using chilled, so they collect from him and send it in the post. That they've tested it beforehand to know that he's compatible with the extender. You will get the odd stud dog that they're good, but when they're chilled, it isn't good, and it might just be because of the extender that's being used just isn't suitable for his collection. So it's always worth bearing in mind that you run a test run if you're going to use a dog that's you're using chilled semen. So you know that that rules out that accountability. Anyway, this dog was A, proven, and B, proven and side litters by chilled. However, when I received it, it wasn't a great sample. I did say to the owners, this isn't great. There are swimmers, but the concentration wasn't great, and there was quite a few dead. But you can never say never with these kind of things. So we used it anyway. Scanned her, she missed. The owners feel that she might be having a phantom, so I think they might want me to rescan her again just in case, but I'm quite confident that she isn't, just because knowing the sample that we put in wasn't particularly great either, even though they did bloods and she was all okay. I think it was actually either the sample, how it was collected wasn't great, or just for whatever reason it just didn't work that time. If his side litters that way, who knows. As I say, feel free to ask any questions. What else did I do? Mrs. on a Sheltie. She was an older bitch anyway. It was last chance saloon, and she'd missed. You never really know as they get older the number of eggs they're dropping, whether there's less or more, and you know, other physical changes that might happen. So she had missed. Alaza Apso, I wasn't involved. She was actually transcervically inseminated. So there are 3 different types of insemination. Most people, it's transvaginal, and it's what you hear on the street, so to speak, about AIs. They tend to be transvaginal. They're quite, well, they're not invasive, basically. So as long as you know what you're doing and you're confident to do it, then pretty much anyone can do it. Then you've got the transcervical, which should only perform by a vet, and that's because you're actually going through the cervix. The semen's going to be deposited the other side of the cervix. Now, typically this would be used for frozen, because semen that's been frozen, when it's woken back up, is more fragile and it doesn't have the strength as typical semen would have. So the idea is that you put it as close to the eggs as possible, so the least effort it needs to do its job. So generally with frozen you would do transcervical. I believe I read a statistic somewhere that if you did transvaginal with frozen, you would need 4 times more for it to be able to achieve the same job, just because so much of it's going to die trying to actually get to where it needs to get to anyway. Anyway, because it was an older bitch that had previously missed, and it was last chance saloon, she did bloods, not with me, with the reproduction vet that was actually doing the transcervical insemination, and then I scanned her and she missed. So who knows what reason? Unfortunately, that bitch has never had a litter. Who knows why, but she did all she could. It was last chance saloon. She did the bloods, she did the transcervical, she still missed, so unfortunately, so it goes. And I scanned an English Bull Mastiff that had missed. She was a maiden, so it's not uncommon in all breeds, from what I've experienced, that the females mated first time just don't catch. Sometimes it might be due to mentally them just not being in that headspace. So she could be fertile, the stud dog's fertile, but just when they're put together, mentally she's not in that headspace that she should be mothering puppies, so to speak. So you can do the same all over again 6 months later, or whenever she next comes into season and she catches. So it's just one of those things. So with the Bull Mastiff, I was like, it's just a maturity thing, I'll do the same again. So let me just have a look. So I've got a comment from Alison. I didn't realise there could be unsuitability issues with extender. Yeah, a friend had a corgi collected, and upon testing it seemed thick and gluey. By the way, my Rottweiler was ITC 3 weeks ago. Scanning. Oh, I can't see. Why can't I see all your message? Scanning this Friday. All right. Well, good luck. Yeah. Good luck with the Rottie then. Seems thick and gluey. Yeah, so it all depends. It's all, they should basically, if you use an extender or you own a stud dog and you're planning to be able to offer that, or you're not doing it yourself but you're using somebody that's going to do that for you, I would always trial run it, that you would collect it, put it in the chill box, leave it for 24 hours, wake it up again, and just see what conditions it's in, basically. Even with all the good practice is generally with the reproduction vets, if they're dealing with frozen, then they will always keep a small sample back anyway. So before they ship it, they will wake a small sample up and check that it's all good, and then they ship it abroad wherever it's going. I mean, most places you can do chilled nowadays, but there are the exception where frozen is generally better to get it in and out of the country, such as Australia is just a nightmare. Generally Norway, you're just better off sending frozen rather than chilled. Even though you can get 10-day chill extenders now. So I don't know, it might be worth trying with maybe not the Australia one, but maybe the Norway one, sending chilled with a 10-day extender rather than a general 3-day to 5-day extender. But yeah, even when they send the frozen abroad, they will always still keep back apart. Hopefully it gets woken up fine and inseminated, but if there's any query or doubt over it, they generally then wake up the sample that they've got and they'll say, no, I agree with you, it is done X, Y and Z, or no, mine's looking all good, so what have you done your end, how did you wake it up, that kind of thing. Also, another thing to bear in mind is that when it comes to using extender for chilled, if you had some sent to you but your bitch wasn't yet ready and you're worried about the viability of it, you can always have it spun down and new extender put back into it, so it's just basically giving it a new lease of life. It doesn't mean that you start from zero again and that is as if you've collected from day one, but it just means that you're putting the semen back into a really fresh, new, favourable environment, so it should help the longevity of it. So if the people know what they're doing, generally that's an option that can happen, that they can spin it down, draw off the old extender, chuck that away, put some fresh stuff in again, and hopefully give it a couple of extra days. So just to say it's an option. That's what's quite important, that whoever's dealing with your chilled, that they know that those kind of things are available to you and to pre-do those checks as well. But if you want to override that, then obviously you can, that's down to you, but it's just worth bearing in mind. So yeah, so complex cases was the French Bulldog with the split season, which I've kind of covered. Obviously I'm going to scan her, so I'll let you know the outcome, but as you say, she had a normal season, she didn't ovulate, so we wouldn't have known that she didn't ovulate unless they tested, which they did. She stopped 3, maybe 4 weeks normal, and then she's come back into season again, and this time she's ovulated and it's normal. She didn't do anything crazy, she didn't go up super fast, she just plodded along, went up, and she's been covered. So I'll let you know whether she's caught or not. The other complex case was, well, it's not really complex, but just a bit of good news, I suppose, was a miniature Daxi. I think previously we had run bloods, and either she was really high or she missed, I can't remember. But owner was really keen to get her in pup this time, so we did bloods. First bloods was 5.08 nanograms, so she was nearly ovulation but not quite. Depending, this lady is local, so actually she could just drop them off to me and get the results within an hour. Sometimes if it's a 5 and it's somebody posting me bloods and it's over a weekend and that kind of stuff, then I sometimes just go, right, let's have and depending on the breed, sometimes I go, let's just have an estimated guess, we'll mate on this day and this day. But knowing her history and the fact that the lady was local, I said, no, let's retest again, which I think we retested in 2 days, and she was 11.26. So 12 is mate immediately. So I basically said, you need to mate tonight, miss a day, mate the next day, which again, generally I say, if you're gonna test, you can mate, and then 24 hours, if you're gonna do a second one, mate again. But just knowing a bit of her history, I said, let's give her the biggest window possible. She's using a local stud dog, so she wasn't travelling far. And she did catch, so I scanned her in pup with 5. The interesting thing with this is that she did use an 8-year-old stud dog, so it's always risky once your dogs are into a veteran, so from 7 onwards, it can always be a bit risky. And she didn't have any ties, it was 2 slip matings. Now, for a tie to be effective, it does take 2 to tango, so it's as much as he swells up as much as she needs to hold on as well. And sometimes the maiden's on, so switched on with that. Oh, I need to switch you on, actually. That's it. Don't want you dying halfway through. So, yeah, she needs to hold on as much. And sometimes some bitches just don't hold on. Don't know whether it's just them not knowing to or just angle of the pelvis or whatever, who knows. But it was 2 slip matings, but the bitch still caught. So scanned in pup with a decent size litter as well. So she's over the moon. The American Bulldog, and I think I've previously mentioned this dog a few times because how much the effort the owner went to get the bitch, well, to be successful basically. Did quite a lot of bloods daily, if not every other day, because he thought she might do something crazy with her numbers, which she was 3.13 on the first bloods. And I think we started day 6 because the bull breeds can go early. She was 8.08 the second day, or the next day I believe. Then she plateaued a bit, she was 4.35, and then she ovulated, she went to 8.86. And this was the guy that the stud dog was travelling to him. So we did a dog-to-dog AI, we did a chill AI the next day, and then we did a dog-to-dog AI the day after. So she was covered enough as well. And then what we did is he did bloods, I think it was like the day after the first AI, or 2 days after, and she was 20.32. So she carried on increasing as she has to and as she needs to. And then I updated you because we did bloods 2 weeks later as well. So I meant this guy's gone full out on what he needs to do. And she was 77.08, which again, progesterone has to stay elevated for the pregnancy to maintain. And then I scanned her today, and thankfully she's in pup with 11. So he's over the moon, that all the effort that he put in has paid off. And I think somebody quoted to me once going, oh, well, years ago, I never did any of this. I just like chucked the 2 dogs together, or went and picked a dog, and I mated on day 11 and day 13, and I always had a litter of 8 pups, and it was no drama. And I have no doubt that that probably was the case. But as with the world today, everything is becoming more complex. And yes, sometimes it's because we've got the science now to be able to do that and to interfere a bit more. But I have no doubt the impacts of the lifestyle we lead as humans, and like the increases in cancer rates, there's got to be triggers for that, and we know some of it is lifestyle based, that has an impact on our dogs. So I have no doubt now we feed certain commercial foods that are convenient for us to put down. There are consequences of feeding a dog that type of way, and it might not be weight gain or longevity, it could be fertility based. And likewise, we live in a world full of, you know, there's Wi-Fi flying around, Bluetooth, this, that, and whatever, all these frequencies or whatever, they're going to impact us some way. We constantly walk around with a smartphone on us by our ear and all the rest of it. There's repercussions to that. And I feel that that's probably knocked on to our dogs as well. So yeah, years ago when life was a bit more simpler, that you could probably do these things and it worked, but it's going to work less now because we live in a more complicated life now. And we have all these different interventions. So you can carry on doing your 11 and 13 and hoping that it works. Obviously the world was a smaller place back then as well. So when people did have problems, you didn't necessarily hear about it. You only heard about the success, which is why I do all this. Because even still to a degree, we talk about all the successes, but what did I say? I've gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bitches that have missed, and I scanned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that are caught. So that's nearly half, like, that have missed. But no one would ever generally talk about that because it's one of those, oh, we'll just try again next season. So I'm just trying to shine like a more true light on breeding and its complexities and what's involved and what isn't involved. And yeah, you can be old school and just go, no, I'm going to keep it simple and chuck 2 dogs together and it'll be fine. And that might work for you. But then at the other degree, it depends how invested you are, that you want to do all the bloods and you want to learn, you want to know ovulation patterns, and it definitely, by making the effort, it makes the chances of your success more certain, though nothing in life is 100%. So you can still do all these things that not work, but you definitely increase the chances of and the percentage of. But please feel free to ask me any questions if you have any. The only thing I wanted to mention was that please like and share these videos. give me the encouragement to keep going with these, because I could have quite happily just sat and had my dinner and waited for Peaky Blinders to come on, but I didn't. I got my ass upstairs and put this on. But also, just to update you, I did say about I was really busy. Well, the last 2 weeks I've been really busy working on my website. So I'm hoping the caninefamilyplanner.com website, the new one, I will hit the publish button this week. And it's well, it's not very different, but it's a bit more of a useful page basically on there. And there is a whole membership section now. So just to explain that there are different levels of membership, and I'm actually offering a free level, so you'll still be able to log in and see some stuff that's going to be of benefit to you. There is a basic level, so anybody that's pre-ordered the book Not Born Yesterday, you will get the basic level access to it at no extra cost, and that means you have access to all the videos that accompany the Homebreeders Puppy Playbook. And then there will be a monthly or annual paid option as well, which basically will give you access to more information. Plus there's a whole power up section, and I might switch these videos into there. I'm not decided on that bit yet, but also there's actually a private forum, and there is also a private channel for me and you, yes you, to talk directly on anything specifically about your dogs. So not the whole world and his wife can see what's going on. But I will update people with that once I press that big publish button and the new site's out there. I'll definitely let you know. But I've taken enough of your time, so I'm going to sign off. As I usually say, if you have any questions after watching this, still comment and I'll just come back and I'll update you and reply to you. Otherwise, you can send me a message. Otherwise, you can check out caninefamilyplanner.com, where the new site's coming this week. Otherwise, I'll see you next week. Bye.